Hey, it's Nikki, and this is the importance and power of influencing your guests. Whenever I talk to guides or tour operators about responsible tourism, there seems to be a general understanding that you're either all in or not at all. Yet, something as simple as training your guides to educate travelers can be simple, incredibly impactful, and easily added into any tour, whether you give walking tours or boat trips or multi day tours, anything. A book I constantly reference is Sam H. Hamm's Interpretation Making a Difference on Purpose. It's a bit dense and costly, but think of it as a reference book. If you're a guide trainer, I highly recommend it. And in it, he discusses how interpretation, guiding, can lead to changing someone's beliefs or even behaviors. Having the tools to influence guests gives guides the power to proactively protect their cities from the negative impacts of travel, a great and important responsibility that all guides should take seriously. So in this article, I'll outline the simple steps to influencing guests and how to incorporate it into your tours. So, how tour guides can educate guests. It's important to make the distinction between educating guests and preaching to them. Coming on too strong or making them feel bad about their travel behaviors will more likely result in the guests feeling defensive and definitely less open to learning something new. According to Sam H. Hamm's normative approach to influencing behavior, in order to change a behavior, you first need to change a belief. So, sounds simple, but obviously there's steps you need to take. And it's important to note that guides only have control over the first step of this process. After that, it's up to the guests to make the connection. It might seem like a small thing, but consider the effect on the guide's outlook of their tours when shown that they have the power to influence the behavior of the guests on that tour. Every city has a pet peeve about what they wish tourists wouldn't do, right? Tour guides are in the unique position to educate those same tourists and turn them into travelers that benefit their local community during their visit. So here's how it works in practice. Step 1, you have to create understanding. A great technique to get travelers to understand the locals' point of view is to stress what other people normally do and how it bothers the locals, right? So as opposed to pointing at what they specifically are doing wrong. For example, New Yorkers hate when travelers stop in the middle of the sidewalk, blocking our foot traffic. So on my tour, I might say something like, let's all move to the side so I can explain what we're looking at so that we don't block the sidewalk. The sidewalks in New York City are like roads. So if you stop in the middle suddenly or block the way, you can cause an accident or at the very least get in someone's way while they're trying to get to work, right? Step 2, understanding leads to appreciation. So if you're successful saying that quick sentence just casually, seemingly, spontaneously before you move on to the rest of your tour, this understanding will lead to appreciation. So your guests will hopefully think, well, I definitely don't want to get in the way of locals, right? Step 3, appreciation leads to belief. So this appreciation or awareness of something they weren't aware of before can lead to a belief. So the guest might say, I don't think tourists should get in the way of locals, right? You see how it slowly changes in their minds. Step 4, final step, that belief then leads to behavior. And of course, the most final satisfying result of planting that small seed of awareness, a guest is actually actively conscious of standing off to the side of the sidewalk, for this example, if they need to stop. That behavior now comes naturally, right? So of course not all guests are going to get all the way through the steps, but the hopes is that you've started them on the path to get there, right? Which they wouldn't have had if you didn't plant that seed. So I just want to address one question I often get. What if my guests don't care? There's a misconception that to run responsible tours that benefit your local community and economy, you need to heavily advertise that. And I often hear the complaint that your customers don't see that as a draw. But here's the thing, you're right. Your customers probably don't care, right? And that's okay. It doesn't need to be something you advertise heavily, and you don't need to change your current customer market. Responsible tourism can simply be embedded in your values and in how you run your tours. Guests either will not notice, although a guide subtly modeling responsible behavior, such as drinking from a reusable water bottle during the tour, actually goes a long way. But let's say guests will either not notice or it will be a pleasant bonus, right? They'll feel empowered after that tour to navigate the city more comfortably. No one wants to be the annoying tourists, as often as we might think that as guides, right? And most guests really do secretly yearn to be accepted by locals, or at the very least not get in the way or stand out, right? Even if they don't realize it. So we're helping guests, if anything else, but more importantly, we're helping our cities.